with another Now Conversations. This is going to be a fun morning and really a quick discussion. We go live for only 30 minutes and the time flies by like crazy. So I've got my author coming in. His name is David Spiegel, but this is a very unique topic we're going to talk about, which first of all is fiction, which is unique for our publishing house because I would say we have probably only published 5% of our books over the last 10 years have been fiction. So a very low percentage of them. But I got to tell you, for the fiction authors we've had, they've always had series, so more than one books, right? And they've been very unique and very fascinating. And this one is definitely one of my most favorites. So we're going to talk about what Bone Fairy means with our author, David Spiegel. And we're going to talk about what's coming for him next month, almost within 30 days here next month at the Barnes & Noble in Clearwater, Florida. So before I bring him up, I'm going to talk about first, let's take a look. It's not just one book that he wrote with us. It's a trilogy. And the trilogy is called the Bone Fairy Trilogy. And I'm going to go ahead and put on my glasses so I can show you how you can learn about more about him. So David Spiegel is a published author. He is an avid golfer and runs golf tournaments every week. I'm not reading his bio. I'm just telling you it because I've been privileged to work with him. Our company's been privileged to work with him for almost a year now. We have been helping him publish book 1, Scrolls of Bone Fairy Castle, and book 2, Awakening of Bone Fairy Castle. And then he's now working on the 3rd and final book offering in the Bone Fairy Trilogy series called Galaxy. And let me make sure that if you want to join us on stage, that you can, to ask any questions about the topic that we're going to talk about this morning on Now Conversations with book authors. So what else you need to know about David Spiegel is that he has this amazing background teaching, or not teaching, but being part of a dance group. He is very plugged into his community and is a community leader. I was very privileged to meet him on his road to becoming a published author. And I will tell you, let me bring up this back on stage so you can see him. And I can tell you that his journey might be one that you're familiar with. And the journey that David Spiegel has had was this. He published his first book, which is out right now, and the first book that we published called Scrolls of Bone Fairy Castle. And I know I said a teaser on the stream about you're going to learn what Bone Fairy is. And I think we have a question or a comment. So just a moment. Add to stage. No, how can I add to stage? Sorry, everyone. I don't want to have any... Here it is. He's here right now, but let me bring him up on stage. And welcome to the show, David Spiegel.
I'm sorry.
Yay. No, hey, you know what? I think everyone listening and watching knows about something called technical difficulties. We all have them all the time with almost all this technology that we have. So welcome to Now Conversations. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. Well, David, I was just in the midst of talking about your journey because I think it's very important for us to share how you came to work with us. Just a moment. And whoops, I didn't mean to get rid of you there. There you are. How you came to work with us and really what your journey was, because you're not the first author that we've started the journey out this way, where for you published your first book, Scrolls of Bone Fairy Castle. You published with a different author, and it was your very first experience as being a published author. So as you went through that experience, things didn't necessarily turn out 100% as you had hoped. I saw your other book. I worked with you. I understood the elements of it, and all the pieces were there. And the story was very rich, and it was an amazing book, but maybe it needed to be improved a little bit. Should we say that? Is that a good way to say it?
Yes,
So
it wasn't edited very good the first time around, and
that's right.
below standard.
Well, yes, and below your standard and below the standard of the amazing story of the Bone Fairy that needed to be told.
Right.
So, but as I said, I have talked with, I would say probably I've talked with, I was going to say hundreds, but I've probably at least talked to about 100 authors that would tell me about the disappointments in their first book they published. And many of the disappointments, I wouldn't say were reflected on the person that helped them or the publishing house that helped them. It was just because it was a new journey for them, and everything new for us. We do our best, but it doesn't mean that we do what we want to have happen, right? We don't necessarily do how we want to. So I'm privileged that you trusted us to publish your first book, which was Scrolls of Bone Fairy Castle. We re-edited it, we repackaged it, and it is for sale now. But what we're talking about today is now we are announcing the book launch of Awakening of Bone Fairy Castle. And since we're here, I want to stay here for a moment. Awakening of Bone Fairy Castle will be released, and I'm putting the event on stage. I'm putting the invite on stage. It will be released at Barnes & Noble in Clearwater, Florida next month. And if you'd like to join us, I'm going to also put that link in the comments. But that is the second book in the Bone Fairy trilogy, because the story continues. And right now, David, you're working on book 3, Galaxy, a Bone Fairy trilogy, which is due out early next year. Tell everyone what it is like, what Bone Fairy means, and give us an idea of what it's like to be in the Bone Fairy world that you're writing about.
Well, it was by accident this whole thing happened, and it was just a unique word, the word bone fairy. I never knew what it was. Nobody else had any idea what it was, so I had to do something with that word, and that's where it came from. It came from just I heard the word, and then I decided I needed to do something. And I had a friend of mine said, if you want to do anything with it, you need to make it a video game. So I did. I made it a video game. And that didn't go real well with the people that was doing the game. So I decided to take the game and put it into words. And that's how the first book started. And it had to do with the game. You had to play the game, and the object of the game was to get to a castle. Well, that's where the Bone Fairy Castle came from. So now I've got this adventure of getting to the Bone Fairy Castle. So that's how I started my book out, with a young boy, and had him get embarrassed in front of his class, and the teacher asked him, how where did you come from, where's your ancestors come from, and the young boy did not know that answer, and he ran out of the room and called his mother, and his mother picked him up from school and said, well, the best thing that you can do is you need to go out and talk to your grandfather about where your ancestors came from. So when that weekend came around, that's where the young boy went, to his grandfather's farm, and his grandfather started telling him all about where he came from, and that pretty much starts the first book. So
that begins the adventure for sure. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, that started the whole adventure, and then it was just sit and let my mind wander and keep adding to the book. And the more I added to it, the more I got into it, and I really amazed myself, because I don't read very much unless it's the Wall Street Journal or something. But I really got into this book, and I finished it, I gave it to a publisher, and they did not really do me right. They didn't help me promote anything. They just took the money and ran with it and didn't edit the first book right. So that's when I talked to a friend of mine, and this friend of mine hooked me up with Lisa here, and that's where we got together. And she took my book and said that she could really make it a whole lot better, and that's how I wound up where I am right now. And the book came out a whole lot nicer, and I'm very pleased with the outcome, and that's why I'm making a second book and a third book, and it's a whole story. All three books tie into each other, and it's just a big adventure.
Well, and let's talk about that a little bit, because a couple things. As you were talking, I was reflecting about our engagement, and I don't always have. In fact, most of the time, I don't have authors that are our authors, that are our clients that we've worked with on now communications, on this podcast, on this live stream. Most of the time, I bring out outside authors to just talk about book publishing and the book author's journey. But you are a client and author of ours, and as you were talking, I remembered, the Bone Fairy series is very ancestral. Right? It comes from the primary character named Hunter, and
Right.
then he finds out about his lineage and Sir Hunter and such. And I remember that as we were looking at book titles, what are we going to title book 2, right? And I keep bringing up book 1, sorry. Book 2, Awakening. I think we went through Ancestry of Bone Fairy Castle. We went through a bunch of different names, which is a really fun part of the process, right? What is the right name that's unique, that will capture a potential book buyer's attention, but then also speak to, the story, right? Do you remember that was one of the book titles we talked about?
I'm not sure I'm following you.
Well, when we were coming up with the book title Awakening,
Oh,
that we're trying to, yeah. So I was just remembering the different book titles.
okay. Yeah, the second book basically is talking a lot about the Bone Fairy Castle.
Right.
And as you get into the second book, it's young Hunter who you'll learn in the first book, he bought the castle. And the second book is basically about him getting inside the castle and exploring and learning about the inside of the castle. And many different things happen in the castle. And the awakening part of it is the castle itself wakes up and
Right.
does not allow things to happen in the castle that he's trying to do. So, like if he brings in some wood and he's trying to fix a doorway, and if the castle knows this and it doesn't allow him to do it the way that he's doing, it's the wrong kind of wood or something, then after he goes home and he comes back, all that wood falls back on the floor and it doesn't happen. So it's the awakening of the castle that is the second book. And it's
Well, you came up with the name. Yeah.
right. That's where the name Awakening came from.
And the entire book is just that story after the next in the creative mind of David Spiegel. The other thing that I remembered as you were talking is that why 3 books? And I've had people ask me, why did he do 3 books? Well, the unique part of our engagement is the reason that we did 3 books in the series, and we asked you to do it and worked on it, was that book 2 was full of enough adventure and excitement that Hunter had that it bled into a 3rd book. So we said, we can't end the series with 2 books here. You've got a whole brain full of these creative, amazing adventures to come that came into what is called Galaxy, and the fans of the Bone Fairy brand already in the Bone Fairy trilogy, which we have fans that have read book one that are waiting. In fact, my client David will tell me they are waiting to get in their hands book two. The fans of Bone Fairy know that the reason we called book three Galaxy of Bone Fairy Castle is very unique. Let me put just the Galaxy on stage there. Galaxy of Bone Fairy Castle, which is due out at the first of the year, and David is writing it right now. You'll learn what Galaxy is, and it's not what you necessarily think, but we're not going to tell you because you have to read book one. And in fact, let me go ahead and show on stage right now, and I'll put in the comments how you can actually buy your copy of the books, and we'll make sure it's in the comments. But David, how is it that you have this creative fiction brain that comes up with all these stories and such? Explain to people, because that's very unique.
I've always been very creative in my life in many different things, and my parents told me that I have a creative mind, and it doesn't take me long to create something. The problem is I lose interest after I see what it can be, and that's my biggest problem. But I'm really enjoying what I'm doing with Bone Fairy, and I have an awful lot going on upstairs in my mind that I want to do with Bone Fairy. Not only the three book series, but anything that can happen with this whole Bone Fairy thing. I've got just so many things that I want to do with it, and everyone that I'm talking to, I can't put the book down until they finish reading it. And they want the second book, and now that it is out and available, that's great. And I'll keep on pushing as long as everybody keeps pushing back. They're saying they want it, and there's many things.
Launching. Yeah,
right.
No, we're launching. And you know what? I'm glad that you brought that up. I sent in the comments the way that people can buy the books and such. But what I want people to know, you talked about it a little bit, is that David Spiegel's more than the book. It's about the wine. It's about coins. I'm going to put your website in so people can dig in.
Please.
Go ahead and talk about what the Bone Fairy brand and a little bit about what you do, because even with the wine and the coins, you do even more than that. But if you talk about that, I'll put the brand in.
Okay. Well, the whole idea is eventually to create a brand. I like the word Bone Fairy, so if I come up with thinking about what I've wrote in the books, you go back to a castle in medieval times. So I'm going to use that and create some kind of a brand that you might expect was available in the medieval times, like maybe clothing or the wine that people drank back in medieval times, or even a place setting that might have been around what they ate their food off of, or cutlery, or anything that I can put a brand. The word Bone Fairy on is the way I'm going to go with this thing eventually. If I can just get the word out that it's available, and try to get as many people to follow me, I'm going to be pushing it as hard as I can.
Well, and on our side too, I've been seeing many more posts about the Bone Fairy trilogy and about the book release coming up in Clearwater. Let me just talk about that again for a moment. So we are releasing the second book, The Awakening of Bone Fairy Castle, in Clearwater, Barnes & Noble, on Saturday afternoon at 1 o'clock on August 29th. Come and join us. You will be very happy that you can also buy book one and we have selections of paperback and selections of hardcover. I talk about I call myself a purist because I love the hardcover physical book. Yes, I like Kindles on my Kindle reader, and yes, I like to listen to audiobooks, but my favorite is the physical book. So we will have physical books in hand in Clearwater, Barnes and Noble on Saturday, August 29th. And we will be releasing, it will be the official book launch release of Awakening of Bone Fairy Castle, but we'll also have scrolls, and you get to get an autographed copy from this very esteemed book author, David Spiegel. And as you see his website, bonefairy.com, as you see the endeavors, both philanthropy and otherwise, that he does in the community, you will want to know Mr. Spiegel for sure, and you get an opportunity to meet him, and we're very happy to support. So, David, now I'm going to need to ask you like one last question because we're going to run out of time here. I always like to dig into different areas and to understand, what is your writing process? Like, how do you discipline yourself when you might not be feeling like writing and you've got so much going on in your life? Do you have a special place? Do you have a special time? Do you, have something? For me, I got to have my coffee. Maybe I have a little sweets, and I just, dig in and clear out the world around me. Kind of explain what your writing process is as a fiction author.
Well, to be perfectly honest with you, I really don't have any kind of a schedule. My day by day things, after I get my day by day things completed and I have time, then what usually happens, I have to go back and read the last couple, 2 or 3 chapters that I just finished, just to get back into the thinking of where I left off. And then I need to have a few hours to continue. And that's the only thing that I can say. It's hard to remember. A lot of times people ask me, "Oh, what's this or what's that about your book?" And I have to stop and think, because when you're writing an additional book, you have to try to go back into maybe the first book and what were they talking about, and then you have to even though you wrote the book, you have to go back and think about what you said or what they're asking. So I just make time, and sometimes it's early in the morning or very late at night when my time and my mind is rolling in that direction. So,
well, I think that what you're talking about is, your process is no process, right? Your process is, that means that's your process, but your books are so rich with detail and adventure that even for me, recently, as an example, when someone on our team read your book from start to finish, because she's going to be working on your account, and she would tell me things about the first book that I read. I read all of our clients' books, from word 1 to the end. If this is showing, it's not showing, sorry. But I had to, try to remember myself. Oh, I remember that adventure. I had to really think about it. So I can't even imagine, as you're writing, and now you're writing book 3, that, for you just to plug right into it, certainly not, right? Like you said, you'll read what you led up to. But the other part of it that's important is that we believe strongly that your writers should never write outside their outline. Whether it's a fiction book or a nonfiction book, you've got to be writing to a strong outline. Now, is that outline set in stone? Is it completely not flexible? 100% not. Right? Of course it's flexible. Of course it grows. Of course it changes. But you've got to have a framework for where you're leading the reader to, that then also is the framework that helps feed the demographic of the book buyer. And so you've got to, start with that. And I know, you work with our editor, your editor, very much with the outline and tweaking the outline, but you're always writing to an outline, which then produces a very successful series. So I think it's fun for people to, hear. Now you're you're going to be a 2-time author in August. You're writing the series of the Bone Fairy Trilogy series, and that is not a small feat. You've got a book signing coming up in August at the Barnes and Noble in Clearwater on the 29th at 1 p.m. I will be there. So if you are out there and you're saying, boy, I've got these fiction books and I don't know what to do with them, come and talk with David. He is, as you can tell, he's a very nice guy. I'm going to put the link in the notes to attend the book launch. But as you can tell, listening to him, he's a nice guy. He's a nice human being that you'll love to conversate with. So ask him some more questions and come and put yourself in this Bone Fairy world, because it's pretty great. I really, truly loved book 1. I truly loved it. And as my job, I read all of our books, as we said, but it doesn't mean I have to love them all. And some of them I love more than others, but I loved your book. So thank you, David.
You very much.
Oh, you're welcome.
But I'll be honest with you. And it's not because it's my book. I have not had anybody say they didn't like the book. They're all wanting the second book. So the whole thing is getting it out there and getting people to know that it's even available. That's the hardest part.
That's right. Well, it is available on pre-sale now. It will be fully available, book 1 and book 2 in all the formats we love. So thank you again for listening and watching Now Conversations. Thank you to our author, David Spiegel. I sure appreciate working with you, and I hope to see everybody at the Barnes & Noble in Clearwater on August 29th. And please plan to join us. And have a great Saturday, everyone. Thank you, David. Have a good weekend.
Thank you.